Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a down south education on Florida sports and athletics, it's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Welcome to the 58th installment, and welcome to the Christmas edition of Palm Tree Sports. I hope you guys are enjoying the holidays. I am. I don't know about you guys, but the most important part of the holidays for me, it's not the food, it's not the presents, it's not Santa Claus or the sleigh or any of that. It's spending time with family and being able to, share time and moments, create moments with family. And this is an example of what we're going to get into. And in order to celebrate Christmas, I have a special guest here that is going to help accompany me on this journey for this episode of Palm Tree Sports. And it's none other than my father. So you guys, welcome to my father to the channel. Go ahead, Dad.
Pop in the house, and this time I am live. What's going on, peeps? Merry Christmas to y'all and happy holidays.
Excellent. Well said, Dad. Welcome to the show. I've always wanted to do this. This is actually something I've talked about doing a few times on the show. And I always knew my first special guest would be my dad. He's where I get a lot of my sports, love and admiration for. I'm right after him. To a certain degree, Mr. Athlete, same way. He was a high school athlete. I did the same thing. So we have a little insight on what we do, and it's a great opportunity to have him here, and I can't wait for us to be able to share some of the knowledge that we have for you guys. Of course, we're going to cover the basics. We're going to go over everything that we normally go over, guys, and, it's just nice to have somebody else here with a lot of experience also in this area, in the realm of sports that we all love. So with that being said, let's just dive on in, guys. Let's get into this right now. I got some information coming out of Tampa Bay, so, as always, we're going to lead with that, especially now that we're here for the holiday part of the NFL season. This is the most important month. Winning in December is everything, and that's something that Tampa Bay has been able to do very well. If you haven't watched Tampa Bay, guys, they are winners of 3 in a row, including a very impressive win against the Packers. That win is something that, I don't know if a lot of people are really talking about, so we're going to talk about it here. Mm-hmm. And let's start with Baker Mayfield, okay? So, Baker Mayfield played a perfect game at Lambeau. That's only been done by 2 quarterbacks in the history of Lambeau. Isn't that right, Dad?
Yes. Aaron Rodgers was the first person to do that. Of course, he did it with the Pack. And Mr. Mayfield with 22 of 28 for 381 yards and 4 TDs, no interceptions, always a good thing. Mm-hmm. Winds up being the first visiting quarterback to ever throw a perfect QBR game at Lambeau Field.
As you guys know, Lambeau is, without the shadow of a doubt, one of the hardest places to play in the entire NFL, probably in the entire world. And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about when I say this, but a lot of sports have generic stadiums, generic places to play. But when you talk about going somewhere and playing a tough team with a tough crowd, you think the Green Bay Packers. Lambeau Field, obviously the tundra, as they call it. The frozen tundra, absolutely, and that's an example of what Tampa Bay was able to complete last week against the Packers. So, for those of you who didn't see the score of the game, which by now I'm pretty sure you have, the Buccaneers beat the Packers 34-20. Like Dad said, it was a perfect game for Baker Mayfield, which is, without the shadow of a doubt, the biggest difference in what took place in that game versus prior games earlier this season. For the first time this season, the Buccaneers have won 3 in a row, and it's been in very impressive form and fashion. I have to say I'm very happy with the performance that they were able to put on. That helped them improve to a 7-7 record, which is going to be very massive, as this week's game, tomorrow's game to be exact, against the Jaguars has now been flexed to 4-5. And in case you guys didn't catch that, it's going to be an in-state rivalry bragging rights kind of game, at least for Central and North Florida, as the Buccaneers host the Jaguars. The Jaguars coming in with an 8-6 record, Buccaneers 7-7 at 500, but first place in their respective divisions. This is going to be a very interesting matchup, guys. Trevor Lawrence cleared concussion protocol to be able to start in this game. What do you think, Dad? You have an idea for a score here, or what are you expecting to see tomorrow?
I think we've got two teams going in opposite directions right now. And yes, I will say Mr. Lawrence is a gamer. Liked him going back to the days at Clemson for sure. But I really think they're going to miss Mr. Kirk.
Absolutely.
And I think the Bucs have momentum going their way, and the Buccaneers right now could be one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC right now. And a few weeks ago, we may not have thought that at all. But right now, they are definitely got momentum at their side. And let's see how everything plays out. But I do say the Bucs will win this game. A score, I'm not going to put a score on it. I just go with the win.
I think that you're onto something with that. I agree absolutely with the statement that these two teams are heading in two separate directions. Trevor hasn't been playing good football the last few weeks, and he hasn't been very healthy the last few weeks either. When you couple that with Baker Mayfield seeming to get comfortable in the offense, really finding a rhythm. Like I said, a perfect game at Lambeau is something that we've never seen before from anybody other than Aaron Rodgers, and that's a monumental thing. So as we get ready to slide into this game, I really cannot wait to see how it unfolds. I agree. I think the Bucs can pull this one out. I think momentum is a SOB, and I think that the Buccaneers are going to be riding that momentum, especially with the help that they've been getting, not just from the receiving core, but also from Rachaad White. Speaking of that, so what's going on with Rachaad White, Dad? How well is this kid playing?
Rachaad White has really turned it around as we've gotten into the second half of the season. He's been Mr. All-Purpose for Tampa Bay. In the game this past week, it was a total of 139 all-purpose yards, 89 rushing, 50 receiving.
Sheesh.
For the year, he's closing in on 1,300 yards. He has 8 touchdowns. He's 8th in the league for all-purpose yards.
Wow.
So he almost had another 100-yard game, but he slid down safely to keep the clock running to 0. And if he had scored, they would have put a 40 on Green Bay 1. Sorry, Johan. And number 2, it would have been a 100-yard game for him. But selfless play, great guy.
That's impressive. I have to admit, for a second year back out of Arizona State University, I am not just surprised, but pleasantly surprised and impressed at what this young man has been able to do. Now, I watched a little bit of his college over there at ASU, but that's actually because I like Arizona and not Arizona State. So needless to say, I was impressed with him in college, and I can't believe how well it's translating here into the pros. This offensive line seems to only be getting better too, which is allowing him to create more as well. All of a sudden, it seems like Dave Cannell's offense is humming. I mean, like I said, 3 wins in a row, trying to go undefeated in December, something Tampa Bay hasn't done very often. And if they can do it this year, it's going to spell them a division title, another division title, which I don't think anybody saw coming. As a matter of fact, there was an 8% chance that they had to win that game. And, I don't think that a lot of people expected Green Bay to fall flat defensively as they did against Tampa Bay. But again, this offense humming. I mean, and obviously it wasn't just Rachaad White and Baker Mayfield. The receivers, I mean, of course, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I mean, what did they do, Dad?
Chris Godwin, man, I know. Shout out to his wife, stirring the pot. I like it. All right, I know you love the man. You're giving love.
Mm-hmm.
Give you flowers on that. All
right.
right? Look, 10 receptions, 155 yards. Okay? Definitely starting to fit in more in Dave Canales' offense. For the year, he has 814 yards. And it is a good possibility that him and Mike Evans, who's now up to 1,077 yards after he forced 4 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown, came into play there. Give Mike his flowers. He's 6th in the NFL, 2nd as far as wide receivers behind some guy named Tyreek Hill, I think.
Some guy
like that. Yeah, some Miami dude.
Some dude. But
anyway, but and then a little love also for Dave Moore, Mr. Journeyman wide receiver, 2 receptions, 68 yards, including that wonderful 52-yard touchdown run. Wonderful. All right, so appreciate those early Christmas presents. Keep them coming.
I agree. I mean, at this point, can we just get this every Christmas? I mean, realistically, it's so impressive to see that not just, obviously, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin doing their thing, and you learn to expect that over time, but Dave Moore, like you said, journeyman throughout the NFL, been with a few different teams, was able to have a tough catch there in zone coverage and really break away from the defense on that touchdown that really iced the game for Tampa Bay. You can't speak enough about what's going right there in Tampa Bay, especially when they thought we were dead in the water about 5 weeks ago. I gotta say, like I said before, I am very impressed with the trajectory of this team, and I'm hoping that after this game with Jacksonville that we can go undefeated in the month of December, as I mentioned earlier. Now, there's one other area we want to talk about with Tampa Bay shining in a little bit more detail, something to really shine a light on what's going on defensively, is Antoine Winfield Jr. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but I've said this the last couple of weeks. Antoine Winfield Jr. is Defensive Player of the Year. And if you're not buying that, then you're not paying attention to the NFL stock market, because this man has had, 494 attempts against him without giving up a touchdown? I mean, what kind of legendary statistic is that? This guy is playing football like he's Ed Reed or something, but he's only in, his 4th, 5th year? I mean, this is ridiculous, guys. I mean, this is absolutely phenomenal work by this Buccaneers safety. Antoine, I want to say secondary, because some of the secondary hasn't been playing as well. But you know what? There have been some other people playing very well on defense as well. Not just Antoine Winfield Jr., but of course the D-line. I mean, the D-line has seemed like they've woken up. They're not allowing 100 yards rushing, and they're closing these gaps faster than they can open. I have to say, aside from that big run that Aaron Jones had, it was very impressive to see that D-line stiff that Green Bay Packers offensive line, which really never got a beat, could never really get going, which means Jordan Love couldn't get going. If Jordan Love doesn't get going, well, guess what? You're going to win that ball game. You know, I always say you got to score more than 20 and keep the team from scoring more than 20, and we did that, and look, the recipe seems to have worked again. Why don't we talk a little bit about special teams, too, because I'm pretty sure that somebody showed up on special teams, some Camarda guy.
Oh, my goodness. I think we're clicking on all aspects there, okay? A little up for Levante David also. I know Antoine had 10 tackles and Levante had 9. For the year, Antoine 107 and 2 behind is Levante. So these guys are getting it done on the defense with a great supporting cast. You know, with the shared sack between David and Barrett, forced fumble, and another sack by Mr. Nelson, who's a great utility guy that should be playing more starting snaps, I would think. Absolutely. And but on the special teams, both these guys, not just Camarda. Camarda, only 1 punt. That tells you something all by itself there, especially when there was really no turnovers, right?
Good job defense.
65 yards? Are you kidding me? No surprise here with this guy. 50.3 average. He's 5th in the NFL. Great value there. And with McLaughlin, 10 points, 2 field goals, 4 extra points. He's 7th in the NFL with 98 points. I mean, so our special teams are putting in their work in too. So clicking on all aspects.
And when a team is doing that, it's going to be really hard to stop them. And I think that's where Tampa Bay is headed trajectory-wise. Like I said, I'm very happy with how they're performing. And then, you know, like you said, with the special teams showing up as well, that's an area that Tampa Bay has at times struggled with in its history, okay? And more specifically, the fact that it took us, 30 years to get a kickoff return for a touchdown, and we've had quite a few punts returned, but not as much as I think, as a franchise should have. So that's something nice. Hopefully we can get these guys to really turn it around. The culture, you know, was turned around when Tom Brady was here, and hopefully that special teams can follow suit, as the offense has seemingly been doing the last few weeks, especially clicking on all cylinders, as you mentioned before.
Be a nice Christmas present to get a second kickoff return for a touchdown.
And you know, that could be in the works. I mean, as you guys know, Christmas is right around the corner. It's 2 days away. Tomorrow's game will be taking place on Christmas Eve. So why not? And it's pretty close to Christmas. I mean, what 4:05 start time? What is that? You know, 8 hours before Christmas. So like, you know, hey, a little early Christmas present. Everybody opens a present on Christmas Eve, right? Like, y'all do that, right? Anyhow, we do it. So hopefully we'll be able to do that this year with Tampa Bay. But guys, that was what was going on with the last game and obviously tomorrow's game that we played. Let's talk about next week. Next week's game, regardless of what happens this week, is going to have a big implication on who wins this division. So the Bucs are going to go and they're going to host the Saints Okay, and that game is going to be Sunday, December 31st at 1 p.m. The Saints are currently rocking a 7-8 record after their loss to Detroit, I believe it was last week. And due to the nature of that, if Tampa Bay is to win this game and win one other game, whether it be tomorrow against Jacksonville or the final game of the season, they lock up the division with no hassle, no complaints, and a plus 500 record. If they lose 2 games, there's a possibility that they could still win the division, but they still have to beat the Saints. So that game, like I said, going to be a big one. December 31st, 1 p.m. Get ready for that rivalry game that's going to determine the NFC South. So, any thoughts on that, Dad?
Don't be surprised if that game gets flexed.
Yeah. They flexed the Jacksonville Bucks game, or Bucks-Jacksonville game. So, that's also a big possibility. Speaking of the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's the next team we have to talk about. So, ironically speaking, let's slide on to it. Jacksonville rocking the 8-6 record, as we already talked about. They're going to visit Tampa Bay. Again, 4:05 p.m. If you're going to want to watch that game, definitely going to be one of the biggest games tomorrow. And Jacksonville, as we mentioned earlier in the show, they're moving backwards. They're not necessarily playing football as well as they have been playing. And the Rams, my apologies, guys, that's correct. They did lose to the Rams. And shout out to the Rams for beating the Saints, because we needed that, and we just need them to lose one more time, and we should be good to go.
Yep. Shout out T-Rod.
Right. Thank you, T. We appreciate that. But yeah, so with the Jags, they, on the other hand, they're in a really dark spot right now. They have to play a surging Tampa Bay team tomorrow, but it doesn't get any easier after that. I mean, yeah, they're going to have the Panthers next week, but they still have to lock up this division. And, and not only lock up this division, but Trevor Lawrence has to get healthy, okay? Now, I'm not too concerned about the game with the Panthers, but they did just lose to the Ravens 23-7. And for me, that's the reason why I feel like things aren't getting better. Yes, I do believe that the Ravens are the best team in the AFC and the second best team in the entire NFL at this present moment in time. I've been saying that for a few weeks with my belief in the best team in the NFL being the San Francisco 49ers. Here's the problem with that. That's not going to work. That type of performance inside the playoffs against a Ravens caliber team,
nope.
Okay, it's not going to work. I mean, let's be clear here. These other teams in the AFC, they're gonna turn on a new gear when the playoff starts. What we're seeing right now is we're seeing the product of these AFC teams putting their practice on field and translating it on Sundays. But when we get to the playoffs, that's when you're going to see coaching separations between the elite coaches and just the really good coaches with really good teams. Okay, that's the reason why teams like Miami haven't seen a Super Bowl yet, because they have all the talent in the world, but the coaching needs a little bit of tweaking. There's a little bit of help that needs to be, added to that formula for success. They have the personnel available to go out and do it. Okay, we've seen them put up 70 this year. Okay, doesn't matter who they're against. That's a hallmark in itself. But realistically speaking, for Miami to find success, for Jacksonville to find success, they're going to have to turn it up a notch in the playoffs, which is something that we have yet to really see them do. And until then, it's going to be hard for me to think that they're going to play any better, especially against a Ravens team or against an Andy Reid-led Chiefs team or any other team, for that matter, that has phenomenal coaching along with phenomenal players. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. And Lamar is doing such a great job QBing that Raven team. It always comes down to his health, though. He stays healthy, that team will go a long way. All right, and I low-key think it might be an old rematch of Baltimore-San Francisco.
We had that conversation not too long ago, didn't we? I felt like, if I remember correctly, at the beginning of 2013, the Super Bowl that was taking place was the San Francisco 49ers versus the Baltimore Ravens. That was the game where I believe sometime near halftime or after halftime, the lights went out or whatever, and then San Francisco went crazy, but Baltimore at the last second was able to hold them off. This is going to be an example of that, I think, history repeating itself. Again, these are the two best teams in the league right now, so I agree with you there. I think that those two teams will be the teams that meet in early February, and I really wouldn't be surprised, if San Francisco was to take it. But, that's another conversation for another day. More specifically, the Ravens beating the Jaguars really led to a weird situation where the Jags have lost 3 in a row, okay? And I think that's probably going to be the biggest bit of information that's going to be coming out of Duval for this game, because obviously Trevor Lawrence, like we said, he cleared concussion protocol, so he'll be starting on Sunday, but that doesn't mean he's going to be 100%, and not only may he not be 100%, there's got to be some weight to those 3 losses in a row that are weighing them. Like I said, I'm not worried about them playing the Panthers. The Panthers are clearly the worst team in the league, but it still is not going to look good if you've lost 4 in a row, assuming the Bucks win this game, to go somewhere and with a team that just found some love in beating Atlanta and the Panthers. And obviously, if the Panthers were to beat Jacksonville, that would, I'm pretty sure, would just send Duval into a complete tailspin, and I don't see how they would be able to find success in the playoffs.
Yeah, I say hang in there, Duval, but not this week.
Right, next week. Go and let it be a 4-game losing streak, guys. Do not hang in there this week, please. Play like y'all did last week. No disrespect to the Jags, we love y'all. Duval, stand up. But Tampa Bay is the home. That's and the home is where the heart is, and the heart is with Tampa Bay. So let's go ahead and get into the Fins. The Fins, a lot more lackluster informationally speaking. They beat the Jets 30-0 last week. I don't know what anybody was expecting. They got a lot of talent going on there in Miami. So like I said before, a lot of talent. The coaching is better. They find themselves in the Super Bowl. It's that simple. And that game against the Jets, a division game at that, really proves my point. Whenever you can beat a division opponent 30-0, that means you're trending upwards. But they have a tough test tomorrow against the Cowboys. Okay, I usually like to say Cowgirls. I'm not a fan of the Cowgirls, but I'm gonna be respectful and say Cowboys. For the sake of the show. But guys, I'm not a fan of the Cowboys. I never liked them.
Sorry, Joe.
Sorry, Uncle Joe. Love you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Don't like the Cowboys. So. Go Fins tomorrow. Both teams are arriving here at a 10-4 record. That game's going to take place at 4:25. It's going to be an offensive sluggerfest, most likely. I wouldn't be surprised if the score of this game was somewhere near 40-34 or something like that. Could be a 10-point or touchdown ball game. Wouldn't be surprised. I think the Cowboys definitely have some work to do, and they're going to look to do it against Miami, whose defense is seemingly getting better. But I don't know. If this defense doesn't play like that San Francisco defense did against the Cowboys, then it's going to be a hard game. I think that the Cowboys will not last into the fourth. I think that the longevity of the Fins and their ability to create space, especially with their receivers, is going to be able to propel them forward against the Cowboys. And like I said, I think the score of this game could end up being a slugfest. Even though they both have decent defenses, I would not be surprised if Tua Tagovailoa is able to take advantage of the speed that Jalen Waddle presents, especially in mismatches whenever that they get the one-on-one. That's just something that I'll be looking to watch during that game. Of course, if that's not the case, it could be a very defensive game in which it would be a low scoring. At that point, I would put it a 27-20 ball game. And if it's a defensive game, I think that the Cowboys will win. But I think this will be a shootout. I think we're late in the season. I think offenses are going to start to have to carry a little bit more than they did earlier in the season when we saw defenses flying around. What do you think about that?
Two things. Both of them on Miami's side. Number one, if Miami wants to be considered in this conversation of being the same level as Baltimore, they must win this game.
Absolutely.
They must win this game. Number two, I'm looking at it right now, and it's saying that Tyreek Hill is questionable for this game. Odds are he probably will play. That will give even more headaches to the Cowboys right now. And again, this looks like one team going in one direction, another team going in another direction right now. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. But I expect Miami to win this game.
Absolutely. And, you make a really good point there, T. It is very accurate that the Cowboys could win this game due to the O-line being beaten up for Miami. But, I think, with more time, more repetitions, especially with elite teams, with elite personnel, that they should be able to overcome it. Now, obviously, like I said, if it ends up being a low-scoring game, absolutely expecting the Cowboys to win that game. I just don't know if Dak is in the headspace to win a shootout right now. And that's my logic, is that somehow Miami turns this into a shootout. Like I said, having one of the fastest teams in the league is going to be able to help that. And I think that this game is going to be a perfect example of what we're going to see most likely in the playoffs, especially with these two teams coming in at a 10-4 record. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if the game was a slugfest versus a defensive game. The only thing I don't foresee happening is the special teams being the difference in the game, as we have seen in recent weeks, as we were talking about with Tampa Bay, and as we were able to see with the Ravens a few weeks back when they won in overtime with that walk-off kick return, or punt return, my apologies. That's an example of what I don't expect to see here. It's either going to be an offensive game or a defensive game, which are always one in the trenches, which means either Miami's offensive line is going to play well against Dallas, or Dallas's defensive line is going to control the tempo. And again, if they control the tempo, they'll win that game. So good luck to Miami, though. Obviously, we're rooting for Miami because we're in Florida, so, kind of hometown loving, but, you expect to see it. What else do you have on there, Dad?
Just one other thing. When I saw that Tyreek was questionable on the Dallas side of the ball, Tyron Smith, I believe it's a tackle for Dallas, is listed as doubtful. So he's probably going to miss that game. That's going to hurt those guys in the trenches. and you're going to have Chuma Edoga starting at left tackle.
Interesting, and that's not somebody that we've seen start at left tackle, I believe, all year long. See, this is what creates the interest in the game, because, again, with those games being won and lost in the trenches, if Miami's defensive line, which is a good defensive line, is able to get off the ball very well and harass Dak Prescott and create, once Dak starts throwing interceptions, he's going to throw more, right? That's one thing we know about. I watched him in college. It was the same thing back then. If Dak gets in that headspace, I believe it was Jerry Jones in '93 when he was coaching up his team the night before they played the Bills, which they would end up winning the game 52-17, and they forced 3 turnovers in that game to do it. I believe the analogy that Jimmy Johnson used was just make sure we're focused, and they'll turn the ball over. And I think that's an example of what we should expect, but more so from Dallas than Miami. Should Miami turn the ball over that many times, though, again, Miami will not get out of that game alive.
That's going to be good. Defensive battle could also be in the works. I heard you saying that before. I'm looking up the NFL defensive stats, and Dolphins are 5th, and the Cowboys are 6th. Virtually even, less than a yard apart per game.
So trust me, when I was looking at this game, I was very intrigued by that similarity, and that's why I wouldn't be surprised, you see, if the game goes either way. Either way, go Miami. We want you guys to win.
Go Fins!
Go Fins. And the big reason for that is simple. The following week, as we get ready to close up this NFL bit, guys, the following week, okay, they have to play the Ravens. Okay? And I already just said earlier, the Ravens are the best team in the AFC, and I've been saying that for weeks now. Guys, Miami versus the Ravens might be the game. Okay, that game's going to be Sunday, December 31st at 1 p.m. Guys, I don't know what you're doing, but you're going to want to stop for a few hours and watch this game and check this game out, because this is going to be 2 elite offenses. One offense who's very, very, very good at running the ball, Lamar Jackson, perhaps the best running quarterback we've ever seen do it. And then the fact that they're able to utilize the play action, we're seeing their backup tight ends get into the mix, and really Lamar starting to open up a lot more, be more comfortable, and kind of flex. And I feel like Lamar could be doing the league a lot worse than what he is doing right now, and that he's just toning it down a little bit, to save himself for the playoffs. That's what I believe, but this game is going to be a phenomenal game. The Ravens rocking an 11-3 record. Like I said, arguably the best team in the NFL, but definitely the best team in the AFC. Get ready for that game coming up, guys. It's going to be a big one. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our first break of the evening. When we get back, we got some college football, some NHL, we got some NBA action to throw your way, and a little bit of NAIA information to throw your way. Keep it locked here for Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols with Dad
Ellis Pajoles.
All right, and we will be back to you in a few moments. As always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Yes, sir, that is Larry B. You guys don't forget to check out his show. That man knows exactly what he's doing. He's the one who got me going on, and I really appreciate him for this opportunity. Speaking of the opportunity, this is Palm Tree Sports Radio that you are listening to. My name is Corey Pujols with
Ellis Pujols.
my father. You guys, I'm so glad that you guys were able to welcome him on to the show. And as always, this is brought to you and powered by IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports on this Merry Christmas edition of Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, as I mentioned before, family is a massive, just a massive part of my life. It's something that I've always been a family guy since I was young. I always enjoyed, getting with my grandpa, my grandma, spending time with my cousins, and just really enjoying all the holidays. Is the best 3 months of the year, and we're getting ready to wrap this up as we get ready to slide into 2024. So, but before 2024 is over, we got some ball games to talk about, okay? More specifically, we have a Noles ball game to talk about. So I'm going to go it backwards this time. I normally go Gators, then Noles. I'm going to go ahead and go Noles, then Gators, just due to the fact that they're going to be playing Georgia. That game is going to be coming to you in the form of Saturday, December 30th at 4 p.m. It's going to be a great game, guys. I fully expect Georgia to take advantage of the fact that Jordan Travis is not playing this game after that very ugly injury. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you not to look it up. You're going to do what you want to do anyway, guys. Let's just face it. But, Georgia's probably going to put a thumping on Florida State. But if Florida State wants to lay claim to their version of a national championship, this is going to be their chance to do that against the defending two-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs. I don't really see a way for Florida State to win this game. I mean, Dad, am I missing something here?
We got some guys that have already declared for the draft and are already opted out of this game. I hate to say this could get ugly, and I'm not hating on the Noles. I think they've had an excellent season. I think they kind of got shafted a little bit myself, but the bottom line is that if they want to really make a statement, let's do it here. But in order to have done that, those guys shouldn't have declared out.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And regardless of where Florida State was headed, you always have to question whether these guys would have sat out or not, whether they had made the playoffs. And, I'll be the first one to say what happened to Florida State isn't necessarily right. I think that you and Adam, Dad, actually make a really good point. And I think that they did get shafted a little bit, but I think there's actually a bigger purpose behind that. And when we look throughout history, we've seen this happen a lot of times. And I mentioned this last week. I just want to re-mention it again because I understand where the frustration is coming from, but I also support the decision. If Florida State was to stay in here and we have another one of those ball games where we watch a team get blown out, there's going to be a lot of issue across the board. I want you to take in consideration that, one, if they were to make it and they get blown out by any of these other three teams, people are going to be saying, why did you guys put them into the playoffs if this was going to be the outcome? Of course, you can't predict the outcome, but they were saying that about last year's national championship game when it was TCU versus Georgia. Georgia smashed TCU 65-7. Now, why did they smash TCU? Well, there's a few reasons for it. One, Georgia plays in the SEC. The caliber in general of competitiveness and recruiting that takes place in the SEC is unlike any other conference in college football. It's the best conference, guys, and it's been that way for years. And another 1993 example would be when Alabama played Miami. Miami had the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Gino Torretta. Gino Torretta came out, he threw a pick, he had lost 2 fumbles, I believe it was. The pick was a pick 6 to George Teague. It was absolutely an abomination of a game. It was not competitive. Alabama showed up and they destroyed Miami. And that was an example of, many that have taken place over the last 30, 35 years of SEC teams just really destroying, the hopes and prayers of these other teams that come from other conferences but yet play softer schedules, which is the example, one, of what took place to Florida State. Obviously, the main reason why Florida State didn't get in is because Jordan Travis, right? It's going to be really hard for you to win games when you lose your signal caller, your best player, and your leader all in the same injury. But not only that, I understand Florida State has a great defense, but they have a great defense and haven't played anybody all year. The hardest game they played was against a 3-loss LSU team, which, yes, Jaden Daniels won the Heisman. Did he deserve to? In my book, no. And I'm a LSU fan. But I'm saying that from the standpoint, the most valuable player and the teams that should be in the playoffs should be the teams that did the most. Not earned, but did the most. And when the difference between that terminology that I want to make explicit right here is that, yes, FSU earned an undefeated season. They did. But they didn't play the caliber of teams that Texas, Alabama, Washington, and even Georgia okay, played this year, you know, and not to leave out Michigan. I feel like Michigan had a bit softer schedule than the other 3 teams, but you get what I'm saying. I just feel as though that when we watch college football, we forget how hard it is to go into the South and win games, okay? And again, a perfect example was last year with TCU versus Georgia. You can go back to 93, like I said, which was 30 years ago, okay? And look at that example. But regardless of how you look at it, it's been a fact, you know?
Yeah. Shout out to Adam. I see your text on that there, and I'm with you, brother. But I'm pretty sure they were looking at that strength of schedule, and Alabama definitely had a bigger strength of schedule than Florida State did. They were ranked 55th. I forgot what Bama's was, but it was significantly tougher.
And not only that, it was, but the committee also released their guidelines in which they vote for teams to get into the college football playoff. And this is why I say I do feel like the FSU did get shafted, because if this was an 8-team playoff college football playoff, Florida State's in regardless of what took place with injuries, with personnel, or anything like that. They're still in. And this is the problem with doing a 4-team, playoff. We talked about that when they made it, and we agreed back then that it should have been 8. If you're going to do it, it needs to be 8. So that's an example of that. So that's one area where college football really, definitely didn't do any favors for FSU. But the secondary area is that one of the things that we also have to take in consideration is that FSU actually has Georgia to blame, because if Georgia doesn't lose, then FSU keeps their spot. And, you know, it's very questionable to see a Florida State team when the criteria that you're judging this team on isn't just your record, but your strength of schedule and also injury to significant players. The latter, those last 2 statements, is the reason why they got kicked out. You know, and at the end of the day, it's sad again that the FSU is going through what they're going through, and we agree that they earned an undefeated season and that they would very much so be in this this playoff if things were, you know, slightly different. But again, that strength of schedule and losing Jordan Travis, it's the equivalent.
That was the big one, losing Travis. Man.
Exactly. Ooh. It's the equivalent to a train accident.
What an athlete. My goodness.
What a dual threat athlete, right?
Yeah.
You know?
One quick shout out to Michael Penix, Washington, TBT product. Yeah, I'm a King Lion, I know that, but
I'm a Titan. I'm a TBT Titan. Okay? So
and I support them. And much love. I thought you should have gotten the Heisman.
Yeah, Penix. If you ever hear this show, bro, we're here in Tampa, and we've been supporting you. Yeah, we've been supporting you this whole season, and we feel like with your pedigree, what you were able to accomplish at Washington and beating Bo Nix in Oregon twice. Oh man. In my opinion, that was what solidified you for the Heisman. I told myself, if you beat Bo Nix a second time, who was also in the Heisman discussion, in my opinion, that's the equivalent to a heavyweight champion knocking out another heavyweight champion. He did it twice. I don't think that there's more of a better, unless you know, obviously stats, right? I get it. Jaden Daniels gets the Heisman because of stats, but realistically, from a body of work standpoint, undefeated season, beating Bo Nix, beating all these other tough teams that he had to play, Arizona, USC, all these teams that had, you know, not just Heisman, you know, trophy hopefuls on their teams, but also solid teams with solid coaches. It was very impressive for Washington. But hey, look, Jaden Daniels, congratulations on your Heisman, bro. Yep. Good for you. One other thing about Florida State, though, okay? If you guys haven't heard, Florida State will be suing the ACC over the exit fee to leave the ACC. This is huge because I'll tell you this. If Florida State was in the SEC, they'd be in the college football playoff right now. Yes, I get it. It's a biased statement, and it doesn't reflect well on college football, but I personally guarantee you, if Florida State had played there and went undefeated in the SEC, they'd be in the college playoff Final Four teams without the shadow of a doubt. And them suing them over the exit fee, which, by the way, the exit fee is no little margin. It's $130 million.
And one other thing, the ACC has already countersued FSU, so there's litigation both ways, and lawyers are getting Christmas money.
So get ready to see that start to hit the news a little bit more. Of course, I'm here in Florida, so of course we're seeing it immediately. But that's something for you guys to take in consideration. It's going to be one heck of a situation. But that's what's going on in FSU, guys. So just look forward to that Florida State-Georgia game. That's really going to show us where that team is at without Jordan Travis and whether they've been able to compete or not been able to compete. cheap. And then secondly, just keep an eye out for that ACC exit fee court situation, which it will turn into a court situation. Of course, the judge is going to have to write off on it to determine what's going to become the end-all, be-all of Florida State and ACC play. But, again, if the ACC is able to let go of Florida State, then Florida State has a chance to join either the Big Ten, Pac-12, or the SEC, which I would foresee them joining the SEC in a heartbeat, obviously.
Them in Miami.
Miami, of course, if you guys didn't already know, I wasn't going to mention this because I mentioned it last week, but just in case you didn't know, Miami is going to be playing Rutgers that in the Pinstripe Ball. That's going to be Thursday, December 28th, so it's not, New Year's Six ball or anything like that, but it's still going to be something that you'll be able to check up on, especially if you're looking for some football to watch on Thursday. Like I said, Thursday, December 28th, 2:15. Get ready for that game, Miami-Rutgers. Now,
Should be a good defensive game.
it will be a defensive game, actually. That's what those two teams have to offer at the moment. But with that being said, let's go ahead and go across the street over to the Florida Gators. Now, the Gators, I don't have such great news to share either, but one bit of good news to talk about, okay, is that DJ Lagway, okay, 5-star recruit, number 2 recruit in the country, has signed with Florida. So there is life. Okay? Yes, there's a little bit of life in Florida. Obviously we had what was his name? Graham Mertz redeclare for his 6th and final season here with Florida. So that's going to be, we're going to have 2 great quarterbacks that should both be ready to go, should the time present itself for DJ Lagway, should he need to start. I look forward to seeing what's going to take place there in Florida. I love my Gators, guys, but that's the good news. Here's the vegetables, okay? Here's the veggies, guys. Florida has the hardest schedule next year. And if you haven't seen Florida's schedule, I encourage you to go look at this gauntlet, this gladiator-esque type task that they've been given. I mean, we already have to play LSU every year. That's our eternal rival from the West. We already have to play Georgia every year. That's our eternal rival, well, in the East. So, just add to that, Texas. Like what? Wait. Ole Miss. What? Like, guys, we have to play 5 top 15 ranked teams next year. Half of our schedule.
You must be joking.
Yeah, this is ridiculous, guys. I don't know what the Gators did to deserve this. Billy must have pissed off somebody. I don't know. But for whatever reason, the Gators have the hardest schedule next year. So I foresee that even though I know that we believe that Billy Napier may be on the hot seat, I wouldn't be surprised if the Gators, the higher-ups at Florida look at this schedule and they say, listen, we're going to have to give this guy another year because I personally wouldn't feel comfortable, looking at him face this entire season that's upcoming with the amount of players that he's lost to the transfer portal, which is now up to 14, I believe it is. And if he was to, listen, at this point, if he was to go 5-7 next year, I'm keeping him. If you win 5 games, for one more year. If you win 5 games next year, you did something right.
Okay, here's the thing. All right, I'm in favor of him getting a 3rd year, and the bottom line is that he's developing. Well, it'll be 4th year. Sorry, 4th year because he is growing that talent. He had 12 freshman players that played during the season, and he's got another recruiting class coming in. He is nurturing this crew. I mean, you go 2 years and then say things don't go right and you play sideways and they cut him off, then you're in Meanderville, okay?
Right.
You really need to give him a chance to show the fruits of that labor. He deserves an extra year.
Absolutely, I think I can stand up and agree with that. And Adam make an excellent point. Of course, whenever you're playing in the SEC, it's never going to be an easy schedule. I agree with that 100%. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about before with the college football, going to the area that it has been. Just one other tidbit on college football before we move on. Along with Florida State leaving the ACC and perhaps coming to the SEC, I think I'd also love to see Clemson and a few other teams pull up Miami. I'd love to see those teams in the SEC, and maybe, I get it, we're headed towards a super conference, but it was inevitable, the moment Alabama started winning as many national titles as they did, right? Because let's not sit here and talk about the elephant in the room. Alabama, the Rolling Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, obviously going to go down as the greatest head coach in college football history. This guy has amassed, 7 national titles in the last 15, 20 years. Absolutely ridiculous what he's been able to do, and he's going to have a chance to do it again this year. Rumor has it he'll be retiring after this season, so that should help loosen the lock on the SEC that he has had for the better part of 2 decades. But guys, let's call a spade a spade. FSU got shafted, but again, Florida's going to have their best shot for next year to really start developing this program. FSU, they're going to lose Jordan Travis to the draft, unfortunately. So we're gonna see if the tide starts to change here in Florida as we move into the next season and the following season after that, after Florida plays their hellacious schedule. I believe we have one more shout out for college football here in the state of Florida. There was one team that decided to show up earlier this week in their ball game. Who was that?
That would be the USF Bulls. Shout out Brahma Bulls. Yeah, I remember Brahma back in the day.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Boca Raton Bowl 45-zip. What? Yeah. Syracuse, were they in demand? Yeah. Next man up? Yeah. Gotta play the game.
Still gotta play the game. Next man up.
All right, and between that and the fact that they are number one in their conference as far as the recruiting class goes, things are boding well for USF for the future.
Shout out USF, playing good college basketball at the moment, playing good college football at the moment. Keep it up, guys. We're very proud of you here, in Central Florida. And obviously, if you didn't know, USF would actually be the nurtured home of Tampa Bay. So that school resides right in the middle of Tampa Bay, to be exact. We actually have multiple locations throughout Central and North and South Tampa Bay. So, shout out USF. We're very proud of you guys for what you're able to accomplish, winning your game against Syracuse, being the Orangemen, I believe it is. And so good job, guys. Excellent. We're very proud of you. But that's it for college football, guys. Let's go ahead and move on into the NHL. So here's what's going on in hockey, right? The Bolts have been up and down this year like a seesaw. Okay, it's been absolutely back and forth with them, winning, losing. Right now they're rocking a 16-13-5 record. They're going to see the Capitals tonight at 7 p.m. The Capitals are rocking a 17-9-4 record, a great record if I may say so. And they're playing pretty good hockey. I'm not sure what to expect in this game. The Bolts are 3-1 in the last 4, but they've done it behind pretty tremendous offense. I hope that the Bolts play another outstanding offensive game, that their defense comes to play, and, obviously that they're able to get this win. But this is going to be a tough one for them, and it doesn't get any easier after that. They're going to go see the Panthers. That game's going to be Wednesday, December 27th at 7 p.m. So it's going to be a couple of tough games coming up for the Bolts, but they're still on the plus side. They're plus 500, which is where you want to be right now in this part of the season as we get ready to reach some of the tougher competition we faced outside of Boston earlier this year. So, Capitals game tonight, 7 p.m. If you want to check that game out, it's going to start in a couple of minutes, so I encourage you guys to be there to see that game. But then again, like I said, it doesn't get any easier after they see the Capitals. They got to go see the Panthers Wednesday. So what do you think about that game?
Yeah, that Panther game should be interesting. I think we started the season with the Panthers in it.
That's correct.
We got the W.
That's correct.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, first game of the season.
So, but a quick shout out to these guys here for the games that they played on Tuesday and Thursday, man. Tuesday, beating the Blues 6-1. Stamkos and Paul, 3 points in that game. Kucherov with 2 goals, man. And then you play Vegas. Vegas won it all, didn't they?
They did win it all. The Golden Knights, they surely did.
They won 5-4. Of course, I think they got to get a little scrappy in the second period. I like that a little bit there, Kind of got that motivation going. What happens? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 goals in that second period.
Love that sound.
All right, and they won that game 5-4. Hedman, Kucherov, Paul, and Braden Point, 3 points each in that game. All right, whether you're doing assists, whether you're doing the goals and all, hey,
get involved,
participating, be involved,
get involved.
And the goalie is getting better as we get on. It's good to have these goals here as he's working his way back in from injury. So
I'm glad to see it personally. I was
Love
wondering. Yeah, we're wondering how they were going to respond after this back-to-back tour into the Stanley Cup Finals. It's been playing such outstanding hockey over the last few years, and it's good to see them still fighting. I mean, let's just call this team what it is. There's some fighters, man. Down here in Tampa, that's one thing we're going to do. We're going to scrap. We're going to bang. We're going to take the center of the octagon. We're going to take the center of that, of the ring, and we're going to stand and bang. We're going to stand and trade. And I love that for us. I love that for our team. I love that for our city. Bolts, just try to keep up the good work. Try to keep it above 500. We know it's not going to be anything like it was the last 3 years, but there's still a lot of rich pride in this city when it comes to our Bolts. We are very proud of how you guys have been performing, especially bouncing back from some ugly losses in the last, both, last year and this year. Actually, if you guys remember, last year's playoff run got cut short, unfortunately. But still, to see this team fight, man, like I said, we love the Bolts. We support this team very heavily. I know in the South it's not customary to play ice hockey, but down here, guess what, boys? We play ice hockey, okay?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Championship ice hockey.
Championship, Titletown, baby. That's what T-Town stands for in Tampa. Now, that's what's going on there for the Bolts, guys. Like I said, 3-1 in their last 4. It's been a lot of offense to help them out. Defense has been showing up. They've been a little bit more spy than the offense has. But, hey, listen, if we continue to play like that, we'll find ourselves in the postseason for the 4th year in a row, gunning for another Stanley Cup title, guys. So that's what's going on there for the Bolts. Let's go ahead and get into our second and final break of the evening. When we get back, we'll wrap up things with the NBA, and then I'll get into my final special message of the evening for you guys, and I'll send you on your way. Thank you for having it locked here on this Christmas edition of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols with
Ellis Pujols.
my dad, guys. Thank you again for joining me here. It's brought to you in power by iSports Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Keep it locked here. We'll be back in 2 minutes, guys.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pulp culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. Thank you guys for joining me this evening on this holiday edition of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, along with
Ellis Pujols.
Yep. Dad's in the building, you guys. It's brought to you in power by Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Again, thank you for having it locked here, guys. We got a few more things to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into the NBA part. Not a lot, obviously, coming your way right now as we just finished the in-season tournament. Congratulations to LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. If you guys have been listening to the show long enough to know, I love LeBron. I'm a huge Laker fan, and what they've been able to accomplish since he's been able to join the ball club has been absolutely phenomenal. Of course, I fell in love with LeBron. At the beginning of his career, I have an OG, I swear to God, guys, in my closet, my dad knows this, I have the OG Cleveland Cavaliers LeBron jersey, okay? And I've been a huge fan of his, so congratulations to him. I'm so proud of him. I watched the game. It was a phenomenal game. And just, I'm very happy for them. Of course, when he spent his time in Miami, this was definitely some of the best years of my life. I absolutely... it was like when Tom came to Tampa Bay. Like, I'm going to just be 100% honest with you. Those are the two greatest sports moves for me in my life. As far as sports are concerned, having my favorite quarterback come play for my favorite NFL team and then having my favorite basketball player come play for my favorite NBA team was absolutely dreams come true. I can't tell you how phenomenal it was, guys. So, but speaking of the Heat, that's where we're going to get into it. Before I do that, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody out there listening to the show, enjoying the show. You guys rock. We love you. We appreciate the support.
Man. Love you.
Yep, absolutely. I can't thank you guys. Yes, sir. Everybody in the building tonight, thank you guys so much. So, NBA, guys, Miami Heat, all right? Listen, Miami Heat were struggling early in the beginning of the season, and they caught fire. Then they start struggling again, and guess what, guys? They caught fire again. Okay, the Heat, guys. Follow the name, right? Follow the trend. Miami Heat. All right, it's because we don't get snow in the South. All right, we don't get it doesn't snow in Miami. It's just sun.
That's in 77.
What is it? What's the temperature outside? It's like 75 right now. Like we're sitting pretty right now in Tampa Bay. Like imagine Miami. They're 3 hours south of us, right? So there you go. But the Miami Heat rocking a 17-12 record. They beat the Hawks yesterday. The Hawks were rocking a 12-16 record. Listen, Ice Trae is the only thing holding that team together. So Miami was gonna have a bit of a walk in the park. They made it look like one. They let the Hawks get over Atlanta. They let them get over 100 points, but they were able to outpace Atlanta by a score of 122 to 113. Your typical run-of-the-mill Miami-Atlanta ball game, guys. Eric Spoelstra has been very good coaching against Atlanta over the years, and obviously the team has responded well to his coaching, and that's what you get when you have that type of marriage made in heaven between coach and team. Miami catching fire again. They're 3-1 in their last 4. Boom. I mean, what can I say? Very proud of those guys in the basketball they've been playing. As you guys know, I'm a huge Eric Spoelstra fan. So congratulations to Miami for continuing to ever evolve and improve throughout the season, regardless of what the rotation of players has been. Their next game is no easy task, though. They're going to go see the 76ers. The 76ers are rocking a 20-8 record, which is only good enough for third in the East. So that should tell you how competitive the East is right now. With the teams playing basketball at the elite level that they're playing. So if you're looking for something to throw on the TV in the background, or you're a huge NBA fan and you want to see two of the best teams in the East duke it out, look no further than Miami 76ers coming your way Monday, December 25th. That is Christmas Day, 8 p.m. primetime basketball, guys. It's going to be a whale of a show.
Quadruple header.
A quadruple header. And guys, that's just basketball. That's just basketball. You know basketball. They love to turn it up in the holiday season and give us some of the best games that we're going to see during Christmas Day. But guess what? Christmas fell on a Monday, so you know what else that means? Monday Night Raw. Alright, so I'm going to be flipping my TV between 2 basketball games, some pro wrestling, and a few other things. I think we got college football too on Christmas Day, don't we?
I think so.
I believe we have at least one game. I'm going to have to go back and double check that. If we don't, sad face, but I'm pretty sure we do, guys.
There's one.
Yeah.
There's one.
So if you're looking for college football, you're going to be passing your channel through, 5-6 channels Christmas Eve. I mean, I hope you opened all your presents earlier in the morning. Because
have more than one TV and a laptop available.
Right. Pull out your cell phone, get the ESPN app, Gamecast it, because that's what we do when we're following multiple games. But, that's what's going on for Miami and the Heat, guys. Like I said, 3-1 in their last 4. They're playing really good basketball. Dad, you like the Magic. You like the Magic a lot. Why don't you go ahead and give them the details for the Magic that are coming up?
Yes. I want to give some flowers to that Magic team because that 16-11 record, they've lost 4 in a row, but the teams that they've lost to is the Celtics twice, 22-6, on top of the league. Once to the Bucks, 22-7, second in the league, and once to the Heat. They're 17-12, right behind the Magic.
Those are some quality losses to have on your record.
Quality losses, but what you want to do is you want to learn from those losses.
Got a young team.
Yeah, and you have a young team, and that's another thing that I like about the Magic is that they're doing it with a young team, which means we've got a great upside to that for the future for Orlando.
Great future.
And we just hope for the best for them. Now, they do visit the Indiana Pacers tonight at 7 o'clock.
That's going to be a good game.
And that should be a great game. And then after that, they have the Washington Wizards Tuesday at 7 p.m.
That should be an easy game for him.
Yeah, I would venture to agree with that. Now, the Pacers game will be the more challenging of the two, but I think the Magic's ready to get off that sty there and get another win in the books. So go Magic!
Absolutely, go Magic. And it would be very interesting to see the Magic and the Heat with the same record, right? Because they're a game apart from each other, guys. So, don't be surprised if the Magic, they go win that game. And obviously, like I said, the Heat have no easy task against the 76ers. So, we could be looking at 2 teams in the same state with the exact same record. So that'll be something very interesting to look at. But that game against the Wizards should be a gimme. They're rocking a 5-23 record. They're not playing good basketball at all. They don't have any pieces or anything really to function around. And, and Jordan Poole just found his way back to Golden State. So, hey, I mean, if you want to check out, Magic basketball, there you go. You got 2 decent games to check out, but one game going to be better than the other. That'll be the Pacers games, like you said. And I agree with everything you had to say there. Hopefully they're able to do a better job against the Pacers and snap that 4-game losing streak, like you said. Go Magic. We're pulling for you guys, okay?
Yes.
Yep. Well, the last bit of information that I have for you guys is actually a little bit different from what I normally have to share for you, but this is a big deal. Shout out to the NAIA, National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics departments here in Florida's Kaiser was able to win their first championship, their first national title.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you guys. We're so proud of you guys for what you're able to accomplish. They were able to beat Northwestern and claim their first national championship. Well, not first NAIA national championship. I want to put that out there so I don't have any confusion. But it was a huge game, guys. So if you didn't know, if you haven't read the article, if you haven't seen any details about it, check it out. They were able to beat Northwestern in a rematch of last year's national championship game, and at the same time, they were able to snap Northwestern's 27-game win streak in the rematch from that game last year, which is also huge because, obviously, if you're having a rematch, then you know that y'all are the two best teams in the league, right? Like, we've seen this happen a few times in the past before, and this is an example of that taking place. So congratulations against the Kaiser for your win over Northwestern. First national championship in program history, also being able to snap Northwestern's 27-game win streak, all while doing it in a rematch from last year's game. Score of that game was 31-21. They did it behind a great run game. Defense was able to stiffen up and hold Northwestern to only 3 scores in that ball game. Congratulations again. I can't speak, more congratulations over them for what they were to accomplish, especially coming back after losing last year's game and winning it this year. You guys deserve all the flowers. Congratulations. Very proud of what you're able to accomplish. And the only other thing to mention is that, shout out to Chaminade Madonna for finishing second in their Max Preps national rankings after winning Florida State's high school title this year. So congratulations to them. Wow, like, Florida's on a roll right now.
They beat Clearwater Central Catholic 56-0 in the state championship game.
Listen, guys, wow. Like, and not just wow. Like, I'm not saying that because it's a big score. I'm saying that because that's impressive. Because that's no easy team to go out there and put 56 on, and let alone blank them.
Cyclones.
Yeah, absolutely wild. And Clearwater they've been in the conversation for the last few years. They've been playing good football. So, I think that this is something that we'll be able to see a lot more of moving forward into the future as Florida's recruiting, just continues to get better and better. In-state recruiting, that is, continues to get better and better as we see these state champions pop up from different areas of the state. I can't say it enough. Congratulations to both Kaiser and Chaminade Madonna. You guys did phenomenal jobs this year, and I look forward to seeing what you guys are able to accomplish next year.
Congrats.
Yep, big congratulations. But that's what's going on here in Florida, guys. I'm so glad that you're able to join me and my father here on this wonderful show for another episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. We've had a phenomenal time bringing you this information. We just want to leave you with some food for thought, guys. It's the holiday season, so if you're not doing anything, at least spend some time with family. I don't know anybody's situation, everybody's situation, but let this be an example. Let this be a light that you guys should get down there and spend time with your family, whether you're the parent, whether you're the child, whether you need to make that phone call or not. Just consider this a sign. Go out there, spend time with your loved ones. You only get one family, all right, guys? And for me, that's the best part of this holiday season. That's why I brought Dad along. Dad, do you have any food for thought for the guests this evening?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me give a quick shout out to Jen B. I see you on there. Merry Christmas to you. It's like extended family here in IE Sports. So whether it's just doing our show here at Palm Tree Sports, it's my son's show, but I vicariously live through him.
Boom.
I also want to wish y'all again a very Merry Christmas. Please be safe out there.
Absolutely.
And we will get with y'all on the other side, and hopefully I'll be here with my son again soon.
Absolutely, Dad. And like I said, it was a pleasure. Like I said, I've talked about this. We've talked about this before, about having you on. I always knew that if I was going to have a special guest on, the first special guest would have to be my old man. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the man who's responsible for putting me on this path to my love for sports, and also where I get all my athletics from and everything, my competitiveness, all of that. So, Dad, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate you joining me here this evening on Palm Tree Sports. And no worries, guys. He will be back. Trust me, he will be back. You can count on it.
One love.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the next time we're going to do that. But for now, guys, like you heard what my old man had to say. Be safe out there. Enjoy the holidays as we get ready to turn this page into a new year, a whole new 365. Who knows what to expect, but let's just go into it with our heads held high and continue to have a wonderful time the rest of the year as we move into this Christmas Day on Christmas Eve. Thank you guys so much for joining me here on Palm Tree Sports with
Ellis Pujo.
My name has been Corey Pujols. We have been your host for Palm Tree Sports Radio, which is brought to you and powered by IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. To all of our supporters out there, thank you. We love you. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the food. Open presents. Give your loved ones hugs and kisses. And we will see you next time. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Peace.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.